Well, we need to know a couple of things. Number one, we need to know how the world's premier law enforcement agency managed to lose 5 months worth of text. And what's also troubling is in the text we do have, they're discussing how to avoid text being captured and secured. So what's missing is important, but also what's there is important. It is manifest bias, not just against Trump, but against his kids, against his business interests. There's a text where they hope the Trump hotel fails. That is a level of bias that you rarely see and you never see from law enforcement officers. What's also troubling to me is this text that Johnny Ratcliffe found last night about this secret society. Now, I have no clue what that means because that was not the phraseology I used, but it's the day after the election, and it's the same two people that were discussing a little bit later in the text the damage they had done with the Clinton investigation and how they could, quote, fix it and make it right.
What's out there? Hello everyone, it's Wednesday, February 14th, 2018, Valentine's Day for you lovebirds. Thank you for joining. We are at WCET 101.7 FM, late night in the Midlands.com, LNMradionetwork.com, and you can also find us on iTunes and the Paranormal Radio apps. We have what's going down now, a turning point in history. And a lot of people are refusing, I would say, refusing to accept the fact or acknowledge that there is an active coup going on within the United States, and there are the participating partners, for the most part, are deep state government. They're government operatives. And there's a lot of them. This has been coming on for a long time. If anyone knows anything about history, you'll find out that in 1933, when we did the Banking Act, or the New Deal, they called it, okay, the New Deal was basically when we went bankrupt. We turned the United States, which is actually Washington, D.C., we turned it over to the United Nations. We handed it all to them. That and all our regional offices, governmental offices. So everything that's corporate, it's incorporated or registered as a corporation, is actually part of the United States or a division of, and they are all working for what they are a foreign government services contractor. They were hired to come here and perform services for the people because there was no more government. And what we have now is this government services accommodation program, if you will, or bureau. And this is all they're doing. They're substituting. They are not part of our, per se, government. They are their government, and they do their own thing. But we can't intertwine ourselves and make ourselves part of something to which we are not employed, to who we don't work for. Okay? See, we don't fall within their jurisdiction. And that's the whole deal. Everybody thinks, oh, I've got to do this and I've got to do that and this, that, and the other. Well, you do if you're on the payroll. Are you on the payroll? That's another sticky part. You have to go through so many laws just to figure out if you're on the payroll. But we are in an active coup. It is going down now. And if you do have children, grandchildren, or if you plan on it sometime in the future, this is going to come up in the history books. Where are you going to be in this little thing? Because back in the Revolutionary War, there was only 3% of the population that actually fought during that Revolutionary War. The other 97% were either low informed or somewhat informed, but didn't do anything. They basically ran on the sidelines. So are you going to be, where are you going to be? There was no communication. There was no email and internet like there is now. The age of communication now is way better than it ever was. As a matter of fact, it was someone in a Senate hearing that I heard, I believe it was yesterday, and basically he said we're victims of our own successes. So you have to be careful, huh? When you set something up for a dictatorship to fall into place and your next dictator doesn't fall in line, what happens then? What happens then? All the control of your army has been taken over. Now the guns are pointing back at you. And that's the problem. The guns are pointing back, and they're fighting furiously to figure out how do we turn those guns around? How can we take them off from us? And that's where we are now. Anyway, let's get on with some news here. Kind of show you what is out there that's going on. A Republican lawmaker is set to unveil legislation that would make most bonuses given out as a result of President Trump's tax reform plan tax-free. He took a jab at House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi with the bill's name. Representative Todd Rokita, Republican in Indiana, has dubbed his bill the Creating Relief and Useful Middle-Class Benefits and Savings, or Crumbs Act. Democrat Pelosi famously referred to the bonuses as crumbs in criticizing the tax plan last month. So Americans are receiving thousands of dollars in bonuses and more money in their paychecks thanks to President Trump's tax reform. But out-of-touch Democratic leaders believe they only amount to crumbs, Rokita said in a statement. The Crumbs Act will let Americans keep more of their money they receive as a result of President Trump's tax reform, and allow them, not government, to choose how best to spend their bonuses. Rokita's bill would make bonuses received by workers in 2018 tax-free up to $2,500, since tax reform was signed into law this past December. Multiple companies have given out bonuses and pay raises in anticipation of increased tax savings. Now, according to a tally by Americans for Tax Reform, 346 companies have given workers bonuses or raises or increased contributions to employees' 401k plans. These companies include AT&T, which gave $1,000 bonuses to 200,000 employees, automaker Chrysler Fiat, which gave at least 60,000 workers bonuses worth up to $2,000, and moving company U-Haul, where more than 28,000 full and part-time employees received bonuses ranging from $500 to $1,000. And then, of course, you had the Walmart, increasing their starting rate for many of them to $15 an hour and raising their minimums to $11. So there's been a lot going on, and they call this crumbs, huh? Crumbs. Unbelievable. Oh, goodness. What do you want to go to next? What do we go do now? DuPont. DuPont covered up the health risks of Teflon. Are you still using that Teflon cookware? Get rid of it. Get rid of it. Few things are as ambiguous in modern kitchens as non-stick cookware. From frying pans to baking dishes and a host of other recruitments, you'd be hard-pressed to find a kitchen without something brandishing a non-stick coating. While it may seem innocuous, that's probably because corporations like DuPont have the money, influence, and power to keep the health risks of their toxic products under wraps, at least until the cancers and other illnesses become too common to ignore. Indeed, their flagship product, Teflon, may provide ease and convenience for household chefs, but such convenience rarely comes without a price, like the microwave oven, right? Well, when it comes to Teflon, the price tag is sure to send you looking for Grandma's cast iron skillet. DuPont's toxic legacy has left a trail around the United States, with some of the most visible harm taking place in the Midwest and along the Mississippi River. The after effects of Teflon product is so profound that a whole region of the country is dubbed Cancer Alley. One chemical used to produce Teflon, known as C8, has been linked to 6 different diseases, including kidney cancer and testicular cancer. C8 is so prevalent that nearly every American citizen has traces of it in their blood, and maybe even the entire world. C8 first made its debut in Teflon manufacturing back in 1951, and because of its remarkable resistance to biodegradation and its tendency to easily escape into the air, it's been accumulating in the environment ever since. While C8 was eventually phased out, many people are still reeling from its deleterious effects. Kind of give you an idea, huh? DuPont had dispersed almost 2.5 million pounds of C8 from its Washington Works plant into the mid-Ohio River Valley area by 2003. And before environmental laws were put into place during the 1970s, DuPont's practices were even worse. So, in 2016, states like Ohio and West Virginia filed more than 3,500 personal injury and wrongful death suits against DuPont. Carla Bartlett, a 59-year-old secretary and mom from West Virginia, was the first of DuPont's victims to have her day in court. She told Ohio federal jury about the cancer she developed nearly 20 years ago when she was just 41. Bartlett had kidney cancer, underwent an operation which saw her virtually cut in half as doctors worked to remove the tumor and part of her rib. Unbelievable. Okay, so they've been doing this stuff for a long time. In 1981, DuPont removed all its female employees from the Teflon division. 2 out of 7 pregnant employees gave birth to children with birth defects. Okay, in 1984, the company found out that C8 was making its way into the public water supply, yet they did nothing to stop it. Apparently, reducing their emission of C8 was not economically attractive. And one who cares about the people, right? Yeah, it's just the little people. But that's something else that's out there. Be careful of the health things. Uranium-1, of course, we know all about that. We know about the plane crash. I'm not sure if that was, I think I touched a little bit on that. But though the Democrats have accused President Trump of colluding with Russia to win the 2016 presidential election, which they thought Hillary was going to win, of course, you know. Well, they've offered little to no evidence to prove the claim. Actually, they've offered none at all. Meanwhile, Trump has said the real collusion was between Clinton and the Russians on Uranium-1, a Canadian-based mining company that owns 20% of uranium deposits. Well, what happened was there was a plane crash in Ukraine that took 71 people, and 2 of those were on the were with either Uranium-1 or 10X. 10X is the other company between the 2 of them. But anyway, Campbell told lawmakers he was speechless and angry when the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States, or CFIUS, decided to approve the Uranium-1 sale in 2010, given the TLI and 10X bribery schemes. Okay, so 10X was involved in the bribery scheme. He was personally involved in channeling bribes from the U.S.-based company, Transporting Logistics International, or TLI, Transportation Logistics International, to executives from Russian company 10X, which was involved in Uranium-1 deal. According to the Department of Justice, TLI executive Darren Condry and 10X official Vadim Mikarin pleaded guilty to conspiracy and bribery charges in 2015. Okay, so even though that happened, given all that, they still decided to go ahead and approve the Uranium-1 sale. The response that he says, the response I got was politics was somehow involved, he testified. According to journalist Sarah Carter, I remember one response I got from an agent where I asked how it was possible CFIUS would approve the Uranium-1 sale when FBI could prove Rosatom was engaged in criminal conduct. His answer was, ask your politics. So everything comes back to how much money are we going to stick in our pockets, right? And of course, the media buried a couple of stories. For more than a year and a half, they've gone all in on reporting every possible angle of President Trump's allegation of collusion with Russia. Okay, still, no story update has been too small. No encounter with a Russian too inconsequential, No anonymous source too sketchy to generate oversized coverage, or it's just bad. It's some kind of huge claims from the other media, okay, major media. But the Russian collusion story disintegrates. Another interesting story ascends. Investigations by multiple congressional committees, as well as an investigation by the Inspector General of the Department of Justice, have shown irregularities in the handling of most politically sensitive probes in recent memory. The investigation into Hillary Clinton's mishandling of classified information while Secretary of State, and the investigation into Trump's campaign, or Trump campaign's alleged nefarious ties with Russia to meddle in the U.S. election. These investigations have resulted in the firing, demotion, and reassignment of at least 6 top officials in the Federal Bureau of Investigation and Department of Justice, and all those personnel changes were made before even the first official reports and memoranda from these investigations were made public. See, it's a whole big deal going on here. Robert Mueller was asked to resign because of conflicts of interest. Okay, the tables are turning on him. The head of the special counsel overseeing the Russian investigation and his questionable personal connections are revealed a little bit more day by day. And now, as more is revealed about Mr. Mueller, Republicans are beginning to ask that he resign. Okay. This is from USA Politics. Arizona Representative Trent Franks says Robert Mueller is in clear violation of federal law prohibiting a special counsel from having a conflict of interest, and therefore must immediately step down. Mueller's reported friendship with former FBI Director James Comey presents a clear conflict of interest, according to Franks, who is a senior member on the House Judiciary Committee. Federal law defines a conflict of interest as a personal relationship with any person substantially involved in the conflict that is the subject of the investigation or prosecution. Bob Mueller is in clear violation of federal code and must resign to maintain the integrity of the investigation into alleged Russian ties. Those who worked under them have attested he and Jim Comey possess a close friendship, and they've delivered on the record statements effusing praise of one another, said Franks. No one knows Mr. Mueller's true intentions, but neither can anyone dispute that how now clearly appears to be a partisan arbiter of justice. Accordingly, the law is also explicitly clear. He must step down based on his conflict of interest. Robert Mueller was Comey's predecessor from 2001 to 2013, and, as reported by Fox News, has a well-documented close relationship with Comey. Other outlets, including CNN, have documented Comey and Mueller's long-running history. Comey once called Mueller one of the finest people I've ever met. An AP report on Comey and Mueller said they served closely alongside each other in the Bush administration Justice Department and have spoken warmly of each other, although it's disputed that the two are close friends. You know, and that's the thing. When you get down to the brass tacks of it all, it's all a bunch of collusion. It was Comey who stood up in testimony and basically threw everything right in the faces and in so many words said, you know what? Yeah, it's there, but it doesn't matter. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Okay? This is cocky. This is real cocky. And if you really want to get down to brass tacks, you want to know what do the FBI, the DOJ, and the Secret Society of Our Lady all have in common? After the United States saw the carnage of World War II, where an estimated 60 million people died in all theaters of war, the United States Congress established the National Security Act of 1947. The goal of the act was to monitor world events, not to be caught off guard with any foreign power having ill intent against the USA. A secret government had just been established, and undoubtedly the politicians assumed they had America's best interests in mind. The head of the Office of Strategic Services, or the OSS, during the war was a man by the name of Wild Bill Donovan, and he was commissioned to set up a new agency to monitor these world events. It was called the Central Intelligence Agency, or the CIA. Clowns in America. Over time, the now 17 U.S. intelligence agencies and other bodies of institutional government in the United States has become a group of subversive, secretive government unto themselves, accountable to none. It's called by many the deep state, or the shadow government, and it's a virulent cancer on the United States and the world. The darkness behind this cabal of secret agencies is now being exposed to the light precisely at the right time. This all comes back to the bankers. Bankers, satanic rituals. Anyway, is this a conspiracy theory as many could claim? No. It's an informed opinion based upon historical facts that are now being brought to the forefront for exactly what it is. A corrupt cabal collapsing in front of our eyes in real time. This is what I'm talking about, that turning point in history, okay? It's run its course, and heaven is intervening. The fight is ferocious. Powerful people and organizations don't give up their positions lightly without a battle. And a battle it is, between the sons of darkness and the sons of light, because it's the fiercest battle of all time. Evil exists for a period of time, but not forever. These intelligence agencies appear to have had the best interest of America in mind when instituted at their genesis, but over time they've morphed into the shadow government we see today. We've let them do this, you know. In these last 70 years, the intelligence community, combined with big government, big business, and the secret society, has become a destructive force in the United States, undermining the democratic rule of law. And how did it happen? The answer to that, spiritually, is quite simple. It's rooted in what lies in the human heart. It happens when power and authority remain unchecked by another person or entity. The original framers of the United States Constitution were aware of unchecked authority, ultimately resulting in abuse of power. So a system was set up with checks and balances to counter the abuse they knew would come without a system of oversight. As the common adage says, power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Founding Father James Madison said men are not angels, and that is why we need oversight of government. A republic can only endure when voluntary compliance with the law is practiced due to the virtue being sought, combined with sincere religious instruction and belief. Today we have little of either in the public square, and especially in government schools or public schools that have been on the fast track to expunge God from the life of man in every possible capacity. Hitler was clear that if you brainwash the youth, you'll start your next generation. Hitler's feared SS was heavily Catholic Swabians from the affluent south of Germany, who had been fed a constant stream of evil teaching for several generations by the time Hitler came along. Here we go again, the church, right? But anyway, that's pretty much what's going on. Well, let me keep going here. On April 27th, 1961, President Kennedy addressed the newspaper publishers of America at the Waldorf Astoria Hotel in New York. He spoke about how the secret societies undermine a democracy. Listening to that speech today on YouTube will send shivers up your spine on the validity of its informed statements concerning a subversive body of people having profound influence over the Congress. He said they exert control through financial largesse and their loyal, secretive, interconnected networks, all the while operating with impunity in plain sight, enjoying the sumptuous feast of easy careers. Even in 1961, not even 15 years after the establishment of the CIA and the birth of the modern Leviathan intelligence community, they'd become entrenched as bloated, arrogant entities with off-the-books black ops budgets. A body of people emerged to stage a coup d'etat from within government to assassinate Kennedy. Patrimony and privilege from the secret society were placing people in power to ultimately control the government throughout the stealth networks, namely the Club of Freemasonry, which answers to an organization outside of government and operates with their own set of rules. At the Waldorf, what speechwriters from the best and the brightest in the world had to offer, Kennedy said, "The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweigh the dangers that are cited to justify it. Even today, there is little value in opposing the threat of a closed society by initiating its arbitrary restrictions. Even today, there is little value in ensuring the survival of our nation if our traditions do not survive with it. And there is a very grave danger that an announced need for increased security will be seized upon by those anxious to expand its meaning to the very limits of official censorship and concealment." Kennedy was directly addressing the issue of a body of people who had an agenda of their own outside the constitutional process. One doesn't have to be a historian to see that a constitutional crisis is now brewing, and it's been brewing for a while. Before Trump was the GOP nominee for president, former Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich, said to Bill O'Reilly on the O'Reilly Factor, "Bill, you have to remember, Trump has not been initiated. He's not a member of the secret society." He used the definite article the. So what is the secret society? Where, if you address it, you may be labeled the village idiot spewing conspiracy theories. It's Freemasonry. Freemasonry is the most virulent, diabolical, and destructive source of power working against the Catholic Church from within and without, having an active agenda to dismantle it. The name of the lodge in Rome, where an estimated one-third of the leading curia is Masonic, is called the P2 Lodge, Italian for Propaganda Do. Imagine. In message 405 to the Marian movement of priests, Our Lady instructs, "All of my immaculate heart becomes today the sign of my sure victory in the great struggle which is being fought between the followers of the huge red dragon and the followers of the woman clothed with the sun. In this terrible struggle, there comes up from the sea to aid the dragon a beast like a leopard. If the red dragon is Marxist atheism, the black beast is Freemasonry. The dragon manifests himself in the force of his power. The black beast, on the other hand, acts as the shadow, keeps out of sight, and hides himself in such a way as to enter in anywhere or everywhere. He has the claws of a bear and the mouth of a lion because he works everywhere with cunning and with the means of social communication, that is to say, through propaganda. 7 heads indicate the various Masonic lodges, which act everywhere in a subtle and dangerous way. We'll get back to this one here probably right after we take a couple of minute break here. And this is what's out there.
There are days that the red pill is bitter in my stomach, but I can't get it back out. I think because I have to. I speak because I have no choice. I walk through this dark age we're in with open eyes. Listen to Open Eyes on latenightinthemidlands.com. And together, maybe we won't stumble and fall.
The L&M Radio Network offers a chat room for you, the listener, to connect with others whom are interested in the topics and guests that the L&M Radio Network brings to you. During the live shows, the hosts will even visit the chat room and chat with you, the listener. Click on the big red Chat and Listen button at the top of the website and join us. No subscription is needed at either lnmradionetwork.com or latenightinthemidlands.com.
Why subscribe to Late Night in the Midlands, you ask? Well, I'll tell you why. Late Night in the Midlands covers everything, and through the thousands of expert guests who have joined Michael Vera on his show, come pieces of the big puzzle, which started many years ago. Michael and his guests reveal information dating back to the beginning of time. To this very moment, Michael Vera not only brings you the best guests with the best information, but Michael is not afraid to call out those who are less than honest. You see, in this day and age, we need a radio show we can count on and a radio host we can trust to expose the truth one show at a time. So become a late nighter and subscribe now. Talk radio like no other. Late Night in the Midlands, bringing the truth back to talk radio.
Do you need toner for your Epson, Hewlett-Packard, Canon, Brother, Apple, or Sharp printers? Look no further than Laser Technologies. In business for over 20 years, they offer the lowest prices on toner on the web. They can also repair your laser printers and toners fast and easy. Call their expert staff today at 561-792-9600 or email us at service@laser-technologies.com for all your toner needs. All toner is shipped nationwide. Why wait? Get the lowest prices on toner. Call or email us today.
There is a better radio show, beyond that which is known to the people. It is a radio show more informative than others, and as timeless as infinity. It is the equilibrium between light and dark, between the sheeple and the paranormal, and it is heard at the base of man's ignorance and at the summit of his knowledge. This is the radio show of imagination, a show we call The Secret Teachings.
Music by bensound.com. bensound.com. Got to put the plug in for him here. That's some pretty good stuff. Kind of like it. Anyway, this is what's out there. I'm Papa Bear. You're listening to L&M Radio Network, late night in the Midlands.com, lnmradionetwork.com. We're also on iTunes and the Paranormal Radio app, and you can also catch us, if you would, 101.7 FM Columbia Talk. Valentine's Day to you lucky couples out there. Goodness. If you're not one of those lucky couples out there and you're not celebrating Valentine's Day today, well, I guess it's, I don't know, probably not for you, maybe. Anyway. Let's pick up where we left off. The FBI and the intelligence community and all that stuff. Where we started with the secret society of Our Lady and the FBI and DOJ. Yeah. Well, today, it's been found out, primarily through emails of the FBI, staffers Peter Strzok and Lisa Page, that there was an attempt to impede Trump from being elected at the highest levels in the intelligence community. Once Trump was elected, there was an agenda to remove him through impeachment under the ruse of Russian collusion. Since they were unable to block his win, the win went the next step with plans to impeach him. Peter Strzok, in that widely known email, wrote that a meeting was to take place the day after the election, off-site, to begin a campaign to strategize how to remove Trump. Strzok said the secret society was to meet off-site. Coincidence? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. According to Q, there are no coincidences, right? We didn't end up where we are today by accident. It was planned by a network of evil men who have been planning this for a long time. There's been an internal war of opposing ideologies in the intelligence community for a long time. And as we know, there are many good rank-and-file people in the intelligence community who believe in its original designed mission. However, we're also learning that there are many well-placed people who adhere to the mission of the secret society and their ideology. The Foreign Intelligence Services Act, or FISA memo, is the tip of the iceberg concerning how deep the issue really runs throughout business and government. It's been reduced in life to no longer mean a Democrat or Republican, but believers versus unbelievers, or light versus darkness. The thing is that when they opened that FISA, that whole FISA deal, there was no need. The special court and all that, there was no need. It was unwarranted. It was total farce. But during the Watergate, the Deep Throat approached Bob Woodward in a parking garage and told him, it's deeper than you can imagine. The FBI, justice, and the entire intelligence community are involved. Your life is in danger. And this was in 1973 and 74. And this entrenched group of people were then running a secretive collaborative government with significant authority in agencies throughout government. And you'll find they're using different acronyms now too, okay? So UFOs does not mean, or UFO does not mean unidentified flying object anymore. Those are unexplained aerial phenomenon, or UAP, okay? The UFOs now is now unfunded obligations. Black budgets. Have to be careful how you use your acronyms. Nixon had fallen out of favor with the global elite, and he had to be removed because he wasn't going along with their plans. Nixon had a delusional moment when he thought he was in charge. As long as the leaders go along, they'll get along. You think Bill Clinton with 2 terms, H.W. or George W. with 2 terms, and Obama with 2 terms carry the water of the secret society and global elite? Cross them, and it's tough sledding going forward. Trump is fighting over more than 100 years of institutional rot, and it won't be turned around except for the prayers of the people and the divine intervention at this point. Our Lady is involved in exposing evil plans of the Masons in a significant way on behalf of her people. So remember, heaven is intervening. There's a battle between good and evil. It's much bigger than you or me, okay? It's much bigger than you and me. And all we can do is send the messages. Try to keep sane, keep your sanity about you, keep your wits about you. Take a look around and don't take things for face value. Dig into them. Take a look and see exactly what they're all about. For example, here where I am in the state of Maine, or actually, no, everywhere, huh? Donald Trump said he wanted to make an adjustment to the SNAP program, okay, the food assistance program. People are freaking out. They have no idea. Oh, they're going to give us all our food in baskets now. They're going to have these people come over here in baskets and deliver our food like little Red Riding Hood, right? No, it doesn't happen that way. If you read this, you will find out half of that benefit comes in packages like that. But it's from local growers where you get this food, okay? And everybody complains about the GMO thing. Oh, we've got so much stuff in our food now, we can't tell if it's real or not. Well, let me tell you something. The food they're going to bring in those baskets, this is real food. Real food. It's going to help detoxify your body. You're not going to get that crap. You're not going to... If you know anything about food, food is medicine. Everything you put into your body reacts to. That's food. Food, vaccinations, drugs, Everything you put into your body reacts to. And that's why a lot of people aren't healthy too much these days, because they're putting junk in their food. They're getting the junk from their food into their bodies. Their pH levels are so low, they're acidic, that they're getting cancer. Cancers are growing. And then you've got oxygen levels, which are reduced, a lot because of smoking and things like that. But look what they're spraying in the air, okay? But we can't talk about that. Geoengineering, right? Geoengineering or weather modification. Yeah, don't say chemtrail. There are certain trigger words, and those certain trigger words turn you into a loon, okay? If you use UFO or chemtrails, anything like that, they're all over it. So you have to be careful. Oh, goodness. Unbelievable. U.S. spies seeking to retrieve cyber weapons paid Russian peddling Trump secrets. Of course, in Berlin. After months of secret negotiations, a shadowy Russian bilked American spies out of $100,000 last year, promising to deliver stolen National Security Agency cyber weapons in a deal he insisted would also include compromising material on President Trump. According to American and European intelligence officials, the cash delivered in a suitcase to a Berlin hotel room in September was intended to be the first installment of a $1 million payout, according to American officials. The Russian communications reviewed by the New York Times. The theft of the secret hacking tools had been devastating to the NSA, and the agency was struggling to get a full inventory of what was missing. Imagine. Several American intelligence officials said they were made clear that they did not want the Trump material from the Russian, who was suspected of having murky ties to Russian intelligence and to Eastern European cybercriminals. He claimed the information would link the president to his associates to Russia. Instead of providing the hacking tools, the Russian produced unverified and possibly fabricated information involving Mr. Trump and others, including bank accounts, emails, and purported Russian intelligence data. The United States intelligence officials said they cut off the deal because they were wary of being entangled in a Russian operation to create discord inside the American government. They were also fearful of political fallout in Washington if they were to be seen buying scurrilous information on the president. The CIA declined to comment on the negotiations with the Russian seller. The NSA, which produced the bulk of hacking tools that the Americans sought to recover, said only that all NSA employees have a lifetime obligation to protect classified information. Okay. Classified information. Okay. Well, let's see. Let's talk about some accomplishments here for a minute. I'm a little ADD here. Forgive me. I jump around. This comes from the Daily Wire. The feds just made history in tax collection. Just to give you an idea of what's going on here. I might have read this yesterday, but the Department of Treasury collected just over $361 billion in total tax revenues, a record for the month of January. Record. I guess the most they ever. The total tax revenues collected in the first 4 months of fiscal year 2018 is approximately $1.3 trillion, are the most ever collected in the same period. Ever. The fiscal year 2018 revenues include $603 billion in individual income taxes, $372 billion in Social Security and other payroll taxes, $76 billion in corporate income taxes, and $81 billion in other taxes and duties. In January alone, the Treasury collected $212 billion in individual income taxes, $113 billion in Social Security and payroll taxes, $13 billion in corporate income taxes, and $23 billion in other taxes and duties. Okay. That'll kind of give you an idea of how we're doing with the budget. So far, I would say it looks kind of pretty good. Huh? GOP representative. Benghazi, Fast and Furious, all connected to Obama, FBI, and the DOJ, exposed in the FISA memo. Okay? In an explosive interview with Breitbart Radio Wednesday, firebrand conservative Congressman Paul Gosar, Republican of Arizona, said the Justice Department and FBI corruption outlined in the FISA abuse memo is connected to Obama-era scandals, such as Benghazi and the Fast and Furious. He says, if you don't think the Fast and Furious attacking the Second Amendment, along with Operation Choke Point, you know, that sacred amendment that holds our government accountable and protection for all the other amendments, if you don't think Benghazi and the lack of accountability when they knew something was going on to come, if you don't think that the IRS and the attacking of your adversaries financially and the unmasking are related things, think again, Representative Gosar told Breitbart News. You know, this previous administration, the Obama administration, micromanaged everything out of the White House. And I challenge people. Remember the Syrian strikes that were actually handpicked and dictated by the president at the time? This gentleman was involved in everything. And that's where all this leads. When you look at the cover-up with the email scandal with Hillary Clinton, it should have pointed out exactly what we've been talking about. That this was the weaponization of our Justice Department. Not only cover up for the previous administration and the wrongdoing and ills of them and those associated with them, but also to attack a sitting president, actually a candidate at the time, then president-elect, and then a current sitting president, you know, of an opposition party. Now, you start thinking about the things that happened during the Obama administration, okay? Remember the NDAA? National Defense Authorization Act, okay? This is the one that allows them to indefinitely detain people for no reason at all, okay? No habeas corpus, none of that, all of it gone, okay? Somebody got wrapped up in that because of a Facebook post, one post, okay? You have to be careful. I've been visited, okay, because, well, hey, I do some things that others don't do, and I got some attention. That's what it takes. So I have to be careful what I say now. I'm not a lawyer. I don't profess to be any kind of professional or anything like that. What I'm telling you, what I'm showing you is information that's out there and telling you that's, you know what I mean? They were planting ammunition in lots of different departments with the NSA, with the IRS. Remember, the weaponizing the IRS. Why do tax collectors need to carry guns, right? They weaponize all these departments. They set everything up in a 4-year period to come in and clean out you, me, and everybody else sitting in their chairs looking at their computers trying to have a life, okay? And what happened? Hillary didn't get voted in. So now all that setup work they did, well, like the senator said the other day, apparently we're victims of our own successes. How would you wind up being a victim of your own success? Something tells me you're doing something wrong. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't be. Am I right? I mean, you have to think about this because I don't know. These people keep burying stuff and cover stuff, and there's just so much going on. And voter fraud. Remember the voter fraud, right? Oh, we don't think he should be in. He didn't get the so-called popular vote, right? The popular vote, electoral vote. And, of course, we can go over that anytime. I don't have time for it today, but the voting machines in 11 states are now tied to a company owned by a group of Democrat activists, and that includes George Soros, Chelsea Clinton, Barack and Michelle Obama, and the estate of John Kennedy have been declared compromised and their votes discounted. What that means to the outcome of the 2017 election is huge. It means that more than 4 million votes cast for Democrats in traditionally red counties will go in the trash bin, turning a tide of victory back to true conservatives who backed Donald Trump. In the end, 17 elections involving ballot referendums for free entitlements for immigrants, legalized marijuana, and decriminalizing heroin overdoses should be overturned. The last one in particular is important to the freeloading left because they believe they should be able to just get high and lose control without any repercussions when they wake up after costing the taxpayer a ride to the hospital and a shot of Narcan. Court cases have now been filed to decertify those elections and either switch the results or call for a new fair election. The company that makes these machines, Novus Ordo Seclorum Incorporated, says I'm sure that's translatable into something, right? Says the issue was unforeseen software glitch and that the original votes can still be recovered. I'm sorry, I don't think so. We don't want to know what your machines have to say. Just go right back to paper ballots. That's how you do it. Go right back to the paper. Voting machines in 11 states, now tied to a company owned by a group of Democrat activists. That includes those three, okay? And all those votes were gone. All gone. Gotta like it. Climate hoaxers, once again, you got bit in the butt by science. To recap the plight of the global warming hoax, we must first look at the American Democrats, the radical left, the globalists, who are truly just explorations of one another to begin with. But the end game of any Democrat worth their salt and energy, or in the party, is globalization. By breaking down the sovereignty of the states and nations, the left can add innumerable strength to their misguided cabal from the far trenches of Scandinavia, Russia, and the Far East. I read this yesterday, but let's get back to the sovereignty thing, okay? Everybody, the bad name. Oh, you're a sovereign citizen. You're a sovereign citizen. You are sovereign. The people are sovereign. Even Trump said it. In America, the people are sovereign. They rule the country. The people rule, okay? Not the cop down the street, not the guy with the guy, and don't fight him, don't holler at him because he doesn't know. He doesn't go to law school. He's paid to do what he's paid to do. That's it, what he's told to do. And I'm just following orders, right? The order takers, how many of those do you get? All right? And of course, you're never going to be able to educate a cop on the side of the street. It never happens. You just can't do it. So, hey, in your meekest voice, it's very simple. When you get pulled over, just say, I'm sorry, but if there's a warrant, if there's no warrant, or if there's been no, if I haven't disturbed the peace, why have you pulled me over? There are only two reasons for you to be pulling me over. One would be disturbing the peace. Two would be I'm suspected of a crime. Anything else is not done in good faith. Not done in good faith. That's the key to law. Is it done in good faith? Was there criminal intent? What is the intent? Remember, this is the big deal with Clinton, but there was no criminal intent. Okay? It all comes down to your intentions. Do you intend to commit a crime? No, I don't intend to commit a crime. I intend to take advantage of the natural rights given to me by my Creator. That's what I'm doing. I'm taking advantage of my natural-born, inherent rights, not the ones that government gives you, because the government doesn't protect rights. They don't give rights. Their job is to protect rights. That's their job. And if they're not doing their job, they've breached their contract. They have breached the social pact. It's all over. And now, you're no longer in the jurisdiction. They are operating out of uniform. They're in a personal or private capacity. And as such, you have to face them. in a private capacity. Go to the courthouse. Go to the courthouse and say, look, I've got a lawsuit. This guy caused me harm. This is what he did. Give me the papers. I'll fill them out. You fill out the papers, and then you take them to your sheriff's department. You give them $23, $25, whatever it is to have them served. You take them over. They serve the papers, and then the papers will come back to you. When they come back to you, they will have a court date on them. And this is when you take your issue up in court. Bring all your evidence. There is a way to get them in court in a private capacity. That is how it's done. Just go to the court, get the papers, fill them out, take them to the sheriff, pay to get them delivered, wait for your date, and then go into court. After that, it's up to you. That's how you start a court case without an attorney, without a lawyer. People think that you need lawyers and attorneys. I'm here to tell you that in Corpus Juris Secundum, Volume 7, Chapter 2, it says that people are wards of the state. Okay? That the attorneys can only represent minors, incompetents, and wards. That's it. That's it. And in Chapter 4, it says their first duty, an attorney's first duty, is to the court. So they have no duty to the person at all. They have no duty to you. Even though you pay them, they have no duty to you. They owe the court. And if they're behind on the court, hell, they'll suck as much out of you as they can before they even go to the court. Because it's a lost cause. Nope, the money goes to the court. I owed you one, here it is. That's just how lawyers work. That's how attorneys work. And it's all, you shouldn't even be in their foreign tribunal anyway. It is a military tribunal. It's Admiralty law. And I'm going to get off on a rant here, and what's going to happen is I'll get a knock on my door again, and then I'll have to stop doing my show. So I'm going to have to be careful what I say. Why don't I talk about Harley Davidson recalling 25 or 250,000 motorcycles because their brake might fail? Harley Davidson is recalling 250,000 motorcycles around the world to fix an issue that can cause their brakes to fail. The notice recall says that deposits may form on components within the brake system if the DOT-4 brake fluid is not replaced for a prolonged period of time beyond the 2-year maintenance schedule specified in the owner's manual. Okay, the deposit can cause a valve in the anti-lock brake control to stick. The recall service involves a full flush of the brake fluid. No parts needed to be replaced. So what they'll do is they'll just pump out all the brake fluid and put in new fluid. The recall covers nearly 175,000 motorcycles in the United States. So it's just basically a flush out. And you might want to ask them, if you do have a Harley and you're going in for that, are you going to put DOT-4 back in? Or are we going to deal with something different that's not going to coagulate after 2 years? That might be worth thinking about. It seems as though Harley has been going through a lot of stuff. They're going to close down a factory, but they are also going to build an electric bike, which is kind of good. It's kind of good because the electric bike, I don't know, they built it for millennials. So they didn't build it for speed. They built it for comfort, I guess, for agility, or basically around town and stuff like that. It's not a sportsman's bike. It's nothing you want to get into like that. So, but yeah, they are out there. Harley has them out there. And anyway, I'm going to go ahead and close this up. This is Late Night in the Midlands, L&M Radio Network. I am Papa Bear. And that, my friends, is what's out there.
Well, we need to know a couple of things. Number one, we need to know how the world's premier law enforcement agency managed to lose 5 months worth of texts. And what's also troubling is in the text we do have, they're discussing how to avoid texts being captured and secured. So what's missing is important, but also what's there is important. It is manifest bias, not just against Trump, but against his kids, against his business interests. There's a text where they hope the Trump hotel fails. That is a level of bias that you rarely see and you never see from law enforcement officers. What's also troubling to me is this text that Johnny Ratcliffe found last night about this secret society. Now, I have no clue what that means because that was not the phraseology I used, but it's the day after the election, and it's the same two people that were discussing a little bit later in the text the damage they had done with the Clinton investigation and how they could, quote, fix it and make it right.
What's out there?